Hello everyone! In this video, we're going to be looking at the winners of my little fan OC thingy. I am so excited to tell you guys about the winners, the fairies that I picked, but honestly, picking them was so hard. I had so much fun reading through all of the different submissions I got from Tumblr, Instagram, here on YouTube. It was really difficult picking just 3 for this video. And even if you didn't get picked, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who participated. It made me so happy. Okay, let's get into it. Starting us off, we have one from the YouTube comments. Her name is Mingxia, but her nickname is Mercy. She was originally part of a group of 3, which represented love, courage, and generosity. And she is generosity. She comes from a family where everybody shares. They're on the poorer side, and she has 2 younger sisters that she takes care of. I think it's really sweet how much she seems to love her sisters, and as an older sister myself, I totally get it, but I also know how stressful it can be. Mingxia is obviously very generous, but she's also humble, selfless, sentimental, has a slight inferiority complex, but really wants to prove herself, making her self-conscious, but also very determined. And she's also pretty thrifty. In your YouTube comment, you said she has short, dark hair and bangs. She's thin with some lean muscle, slightly above average height, and she feels her feet are too big, which makes her embarrassed, and she's always tripping over them. Which is so funny. I love when people give characters traits like that. I find it quite humanizing. Oh, also, Mingxia is the OC of Lady T9858 here on YouTube. I couldn't manage to get in touch with you. I'm so sorry. There's no messaging feature on YouTube for some reason. I swear there used to be, but not anymore, I guess. I left a couple comments on some of your videos, but, yeah, I couldn't get in touch with you. I would have loved some more information on her, though, so definitely in the comments, let us know if there's anything else you want us to know about her. She's super cool. Also, you have a great singing voice. I listened to some of your stuff, and it was really good. Definitely feel free to do some promo for your songs in the comments, too. And back to your OC, the Fairy of Karma. I think that's a great take on the character representing generosity, to be the Fairy of Karma. And Mercy is such an apt name for someone who is the Fairy of Karma. It's so good. Like, if she was a superhero, that would be an awesome superhero name. I thought it was great that she was given her title by the last Fairy of Karma because it just ties into the idea of getting what you deserve, the idea of karma, and because that just so happens to be how fairies in my rewrite tend to get their titles. Like, they find what they connect to, and then they get mentored by the last fairy that had that title, if they're still around. I think that's just like a neat coincidence. And I love the idea of her being so worried that she doesn't deserve her fairy title, even after everything she's done for others, and how that ties into the idea of karma in like a fun, ironic kind of way. And if you can't tell, I think karma is a great idea for a fairy's title, like what their magic is based on. It opens the door for really in-depth characterization, and the way you tie it in conceptually with generosity is also very interesting. For her outfit, you said worn but well-kept clothes. I am a very avid thrifter. I love going to the thrift store. It's like a spiritual experience for me. So I took a lot of inspiration from what I see other young ladies wearing for their trips to the thrift store. We got the cardigan, the Birks, and even a t-shirt that she cropped herself and cut the neck on. I debated giving her socks with her sandals, but it was looking a little too frumpy. I also wanted there to be patches or embroidery somewhere on her outfit, and I settled on her shorts. In my mind, she DIY'd the hell out of those things. A lot of the notes you gave also played into Chinese culture or aesthetics, as well as her name being Mingxia. So We'll see it more with her fairy form, but I did use that for some inspiration in her casual outfit as well. Like, I put a lot of red in her color palette because it's lucky. You also didn't specify an eye color, so I gave her red eyes because I just really like red eyes on non-evil characters, if that makes sense. I also wanted her color palette to be mostly warm because I feel like it reflects on her personality, with her hair and the denim of her shorts being the only cool colors for some variation. I think it's really fun that she would fit into my rewrite so easily. I would definitely have her as an embodiment fairy. Her powers could be similar to Domino from X-Men mixed with like Jinx from Teen Titans. Like, she can bestow bad luck or good luck upon herself and others, that kind of thing. She could also have varying degrees of severity to her powers. Like, maybe her magic is stronger when she has good karma, but since she's always doing good things for others, it's usually pretty dang strong. I think it would be really cool to see her in a fight as well. Like, she's such a sweetie pie normally, but in the heat of battle, she really unleashes her pent up frustrations. I mean, you know what they say. Karma's a bit. So, for her fairy form, I really had to restrain myself from giving a million details. Trying to still keep it simple because it's Magic Winx form, but just looking at all of the beautiful inspiration I found on Pinterest, it was so difficult to hold back. You said your original design from when you were a kid had her wearing a green cheapao, but that now you might have her in a simplified Tang Dynasty style dress, and so I really was trying to go for that. And I wanted it to be green since you said that's what it was originally. I like the idea of a cheapao inspired dress for Magic Winx because it's easier to simplify, but I really thought the style of the Tang Dynasty dresses I was looking at would be a lot better for the personality that she has. Just visually, I guess. I was just unsure at first about how to simplify them because they are so beautiful with all the details and the frills that they have. Like, I just know her Enchantix form would go so hard if you kept this style for it. I also gave her the magical girl hair extensions you mentioned in your comment, of course, and I couldn't help but add in little, like, hair accessories. Looking at it now, I feel like the design definitely needed them to be balanced. As for her wings, since I couldn't get the lotus details to look quite right in her hair, and I still wanted them to play into the luck direction, I decided to have her wing shape be inspired by lotus petals instead. And I wanted the color of them to match her eyes. I really like Mercy. I love that she's someone that you came up with as a kid. I was like 5 when Winx came out, so I'm really nostalgic for it. But I never actually made an OC for it until now, I guess. She feels like someone I could know in real life, to be honest, and I think that's amazing. I hope I didn't go too stereotypical for her design. I wanted the elements to have the Chinese influence you mentioned in your submission comment, and I can sometimes be a bit heavy-handed with themes, but I do think she came out really cute. Okay, for our second winner, we have another from a trio coming from Tumblr. We have, oh shoot, I don't know how to say his name. Is it Atomo or Atomo? I'm gonna say Atomo? I'm so sorry. But he is a male fairy from the planet Zenith, where he lives with his parents and his cool grandpa. Atomo was a gifted mathematician from a young age. According to your submission, he deduced that he was going to be a fairy at age 12 using nothing but statistics. Then he started applying to Althea, where he later transformed into his Magic Winx form for the very first time. I love that he was able to figure out he would be a fairy via stats. That's so fun for a character like this. And Atomo seems delightful. He seems really sweet and friendly, even if he has that classic Zenith way of holding in his emotions. And I appreciate that it seems like, from what I've read of your stuff, he was able to stay that way through some not very nice treatment from some other people. He is also observant and detail-oriented, a perfectionist, intelligent, and formal. We love a polite boy. I also like that in your world, the citizens of Zenith have their own special characteristics, those being big heads and crystalline eyes. I appreciate that you did give me permission to draw what I think his eyes look like, but I felt like it wasn't really up to me or something that I should do, so I did keep them covered like how you have in your drawings. He also has pastel orange hair in a bowl cut and 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. And I'll talk about that in a little while about why I like it so much. It's kind of a rant even in script format. And Atomo belongs to the Ray of Moonlight on Tumblr. He has a very extensive AU called For the Honor of My Wings. Check it out. I'm just so glad to have an opportunity to do a male fairy. I know you guys have been wondering if I'm going to have male fairies or not, and I want to tell you that eventually we will see more of them. It's just something that we're not going to see for a while because the lack of male fairies is actually plot related. So, alas, I have been foiled by my own hand because I really want to draw all of the male fairies now, but I can't. So, drawing Atomo has been very fun for me. And I think Fairy of Math is a great concept, and I love that he's from Zenith because, like, yeah, of course, the Fairy of Math would be from Zenith. Obviously. And like I mentioned before, you gave the people of the planet their own physical characteristics that distinguish them from people of other planets, their eyes and their heads, and I wish that Winx Club did that. They have so many planets, but they all feel really samey. Nobody looks any different. Everybody is just human. That's part of why I just made it one planet in my rewrite, because, like, what's the difference? You know what I mean? Anyways, my real favorite thing about this character is that you gave him 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, because humans count in base 10, because we have 10 digits most of the time, and that makes it more intuitive for us. But base 12 is also very interesting, to me at least. It can still be divided evenly in half, but also evenly into thirds and into quarters. 12 inches in a foot, as my fellow Americans know. We get eggs and cupcakes and bagels by the dozen. It's the amount of lunar cycles in the year and the amount of years or earthly branches in the Chinese zodiac cycle, which is based on the orbit of Jupiter, my favorite planet. The Western zodiac even has 12 signs as well, since each has a 30-degree slice of the 360 degrees of our sky. Well, unless you count Ophiuchus, but I don't know anyone who does. According to Scientific American, the ancient Egyptians used the stars to track the passage of time at night, watching as 12 constellations moved across the night sky, which eventually led to the idea of 12 hours for day and 12 hours for night. For those of us with only 5 fingers per hand, we can count on our knuckles, excluding the thumb, for base 12. Ghosts probably. Come for the Winx Club, stay for the random fun facts nobody asked for. Now let's talk about his outfit. You said that his outfit is very stereotypically nerdy, which I think is cute. Nice and simple. So he gets a plaid sweater vest and some nice khakis and comfy sneaks. I was a little worried I made him look too close to a Timmy clone or maybe like his and Techna's son, but I think the design ended up distinguishable enough. I like it. And of course, I hope you like it too. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the purple I wanted to add to work. I did want to give him Techna's color palette as like a reference to him being from Zenith, but it'll show up in his fairy form. Speaking of his fairy form, the Fairy of Math could have some really cool powers. Of course, there's the ability to be really good at math, but also it would be cool if he could like make duplicates of things or have perfect aim because he's able to map out the trajectory, beautiful mind style. And since he's so good at statistics, maybe he could have an advanced ability that's like similar to Garnet's future vision in Steven Universe. There's a lot of possibilities, and that's just so great in a character, you know? The speculation and the room to play. It's so fun. If he was in my rewrite, Atomo would definitely be an embodiment fairy, which is really fun because of some lore stuff that I will still be keeping secret for now. But unfortunately, the no male fairies yet thing would throw a wrench in his character. Even though he would still have his connection to his power and math and stuff, before or without ever even knowing he was a fairy, he would not get his wings in my rewrite when he turned around 16 like the other fairies do. He could still have magic if he turned to witchcraft, as his method of spellcasting and his focus was mathematics. But it's possible there may not even be a fairy of math in the world if the person meant to be the fairy of math was a guy, which really sucks, but it sucks for a reason. Sorry, male fairy stans. Sorry. It's honestly likely in my rewrite that he would not practice magic at all for a long time, instead choosing to go to a college a lot more similar to the ones we have here on Earth, and simply studying mathematics. Like, there are people with normal jobs in this world. Not everyone is a powerful magical being. But in your world, he gets to be a fairy quite young, which is delightful. I kind of took some creative liberties on the design of his fairy form. I hope you don't mind. I saw that you had some sketches of him as a fairy, so I did take a lot of inspiration from that conceptually, as well as from the Pinterest board you sent me, which was such a fun resource, thank you. On that Pinterest board, there were sort of two categories of clothing: more traditional good boy clothes, like I did for his casual outfit, and then some more like streetwear inspired outfits. And there were windbreakers, which I thought was perfect for him. You also mentioned that a key aspect of his fairy form is that he doesn't show much skin, so I thought a jacket would be a great addition. Another thing I kept in mind while designing was the idea of fashion from Zenith being similar to what Techna wears. So I did want to take inspiration from her OG fairy form for the sort of like vibe and the colors. Although I was so torn after this because I couldn't decide if he should have a purple outfit with green wings or a green outfit with purple wings. I ended up going with a green outfit with purple wings just so that it wasn't too visually similar to Techna, and I think it works having green as his main color. As for his wing shape, I took inspiration from this drawing you did of him and tried to just translate it into my style. All in all, I think Atomo is a great character that fits the world of Winx quite a lot. The show tended to get a bit heavy-handed with its theming for characters sometimes, which I definitely relate to, and I think he's the perfect level of that. He still feels like a rounded character, as well as leaning delightfully into the tropes he seems to be based on. Plus, I love the dedication you clearly have for your AU and your characters. The amount of love and work you put in really shows. And finally, we have one from Instagram, and her name is Clessidra. In her submission comment, she's described as a bit mysterious and shy, choosing to stick to herself rather than the other members of her team. She seems stubborn and defensive, like she's very devoted to the fight, a no-nonsense protector who won't stand for any disrespect of her people, or maybe just quick to anger in general? But she's been through a lot. As Fairy of the Sands of Time, she was meant to guard the magical pond that kept time flowing properly, but the flow was stopped by the Witch of Light and the Fairy of Stagnation. Ooh, villainous fairy, I like it. Them stopping the flow of this magical pond led to the destruction of Clessidra's kingdom and the creation of multiple timelines that she now has to repair. After all of this, she'd be able to enroll in Althea, where she would make friends with some other fairies, including your version of Roxy, and together they can take down their enemies and restore the timeline. For her physical description, you said honey to dark skin and deep brown to black hair with metallic highlights. Are her highlights natural, or are they like tinsel extensions? I knew someone in like elementary school that had those. It was the early 2000s, they were in. But honestly, they look much better on Clessidra. She also has a beautiful aquiline nose and brownie gold eyes. She also has a scar along her chest, which I'm guessing is from the battle. Sorry to assume, but I think that's a nice little detail. Oh, and Clessidra belongs to one of my really awesome followers who's been here since like super early on. Like back from when I used to talk about the map video that I totally still want to do. Maybe I'll break out the work in progress and I'll look at it again, we'll see. But anyway, he submitted her from his personal account, so I won't be putting his username. Yeah, Fairy of the Sands of Time is a really cool way to make a time fairy without her feeling too overpowered. That's actually something I've wondered about for my rewrite, like, is there a way to make a Fairy of Time without her magic being so totally broken? And like, a Fairy of Time you would assume, be able to move through time, which would be crazy for the plot. Like, why would we even have a plot if we have someone who can do that? But this is a way to have a Fairy of Time without it feeling like she's basically God. I don't know if I'm explaining my thoughts well. Let me know if that makes any sense. Another thing I really like about this character is her personality. It seems like maybe she's not exactly a pleasant person to be around all the time, but it totally makes sense. And it can be really challenging to write a character like this, but that's what makes him so interesting. Like, who can really blame her for being abrasive when her entire kingdom got destroyed and she's gone to Althea as basically a refugee? But that still doesn't mean that she's not mean and hard to be around. But that doesn't mean that her friends don't love her. Trauma can make you lash out, and I can think of a few characters off the top of my head where they tried to go for this kind of thing and it just didn't really work. But your character seems really solid. And I definitely think that you could do more with her if you wanted to. Her overall appearance really drew me in as well, and I was honestly just excited to draw her. I love an aquiline nose, and paired with her personality, she was so fun to draw. I really enjoyed the pose I ended up with for her. It looks like she doesn't quite mesh with whatever's going on around her, like she's kind of analyzing things and determining how she feels about what she's seeing. I did give her a pretty severe hourglass figure because, hourglass, sands of time. And you mentioned that her casual outfit would still be pretty formal with more loose, billowy fabrics. To me, this is a pretty formal feeling outfit, and I think it looks really good on her, but looking at it now, I'm a little worried it's giving too much beach vacation. I'm a little blind sometimes to what's considered fancy or not. I'm also allergic to using white in outfits for some reason, so her top is instead a gentle lavender to pair with the honey color of her wrap skirt. I think she would fit really well into my rewrite. She would definitely be a guardian fairy, so instead of Fairy of the Sands of Time, she would be like Guardian Fairy of the Temporal Pond, or something. She would definitely be a sight to behold in the battle-focused classes that guardian fairies take. Especially the offensive courses, I think. Her powers could feature sand as well as time stuff. Like, she could use the sand the way Aisha uses Morphix, or like a sandbender in Avatar: The Last Airbender. And then with time stuff, again, this can get really OP really fast. It would probably be smaller things, like maybe she can affect a 10-foot cube around her and slow down time. Maybe a really high-level spell for her could be like when Five manages to rewind a few seconds in Umbrella Academy. Just as long as it's not like classic time travel like you think of when you think of sci-fi time travel, because the shenanigans, it's too much. As for her outfit, it just had to be flowy and dainty and beautiful. I really tried getting that theming in there, but eventually for the silhouette, I ended up less hourglass and more flowing sand. But I was pretty happy with it in the end. It feels very classically fairy to me, which I think fits Clessidra quite well. It may have been a bit out there to give her blue wings. It wasn't in the color palette you mentioned, I'm sorry. But because of what I mentioned before, white wings just felt a bit weird. So I gave her a color that complements her warmth and reminds one of a pool of water, since she guards a flowing pool of a different kind. Plus, I added the tiniest bit of it into a little gem connecting her dress, meant to represent a single grain of sand. I made her wings quite sharp and have similar shapes in her sandals to tie in her personality that I like so much. Clessidra is so ethereal, and her story captures that part of being a fairy that can be steeped in tragedy and chaos, and I love it so much. It's definitely an overlooked part of Winx Club. She would be a great temporary ally to the Winx and would definitely become a fan favorite if she was in the show, in my opinion. I had a lot of fun with her design, and I hope you like it. Once again, thank you so much to everybody who submitted their OC for this little contest. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this. Like, it's even the longest video on my channel by far. But it ended up being a really great way to celebrate not only the 750 subscribers that I had at the time of the post, but now hitting 1,000, and that just is crazy. This was just a little passion project to practice writing and character design, and now we have such a fun little community. I'll be back again soon with more lore and story stuff as we start to wrap up season 1 of my character redesigns. It's been a very fun journey so far, and I've gotten a lot better at this, I think. At least I hope I have. Thanks again for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye!